all these weeks of just talking about practices and drills and exhibitions, all these months without, actual football. It's all coming to an end, my friends. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. Happy Labor Day. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Your favorite football team resumes practicing this morning on the South Side, and your favorite football team will fly to Atlanta this coming weekend to take on the Falcons. And your favorite football ... will be ... You've got no idea. And that's just kind of the way this whole calendar year has gone, isn't it? There is nothing that can happen inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday that would surprise you in either direction. At least that's the sense that I get, and I feel just like that. If the offense were some, imaginative, dynamic, mix it up, clock eating, 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 tight end machine, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of what they were working toward, right? And yet, if they fell completely on their figurative face, I don't know that would stun anyone either. I hate to say this, but it wouldn't stun me either, primarily because of worries about the offensive line. Defensively, they could come out and just tear the Falcons apart. They could do a Cincinnati from the opener 2 years ago, where they made Joe Burrow look like a complete rookie, ate him up, ate the receivers up, ate everybody up. And we were all like, hey, those guys are still here and they're still good. That could happen again. When you're talking about TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, Patrick Queen, you're not going to get floored by anything positive that they do, no matter how positive it is. And at the same time, if Atlanta were to find a passing game for the first time in a millennium, and the Falcons were to pick on some of these new secondary guys, if they were to get rid of the football in a hurry, throw a lot underneath to try to take advantage of whatever suspect nickel corner will be there, or go even at the corners, go at the safeties. Okay, safety singular, meaning not Minkah. And they were to put up a lot of points, we wouldn't be surprised by that either. No one anywhere can be surprised about anything that occurs on special teams, so what am I missing here? It's the beginning of September, and we know nothing about the Steelers. But you know what? Neither does anybody else. And I think that's something to keep in mind when seeing, hearing, or reading all of the noise, mostly from outside Pittsburgh, about how this team's going to be last place, or Mike Tomlin's first losing season, or the one that's got 2 quarterbacks worse than Kenny Pickett. I read that one somewhere, and there's a bunch of it. And when it happens, because most of the people who churn out this kind of content don't come with much innate creativity, they just copy and try to ride waves. I'm thinking you're only going to see this get worse and worse as the week goes along. Don't buy in. I'm not going to tell you how to think, but I am going to advise that you think for yourself, because I'm really confident that someone who's this into football to press play on a podcast with this name is going to know more about his or her favorite team than someone who doesn't invest as much of their life as you do in following it. As I see it, this team has a chance to be really good. This team also has a chance to be not so good. Some things have to go right. Some things have to go righter than we have a right to expect them to go right. Notably and forcefully, the offensive line. I don't know how long Isaac Seumalo is going to be out. I do know that he was probably one of the top 5 guys they could least afford to lose for any span. But I also know that we can't have it both ways, in that we're raving about how all these young, high pedigree guys are there and how, wow, let's find opportunities for Mason McCormick and Spencer Anderson. And then, on the other hand, say, well, season's over. Isaac's going to be out a while. If they can get the line straightened out, if the kids on the line can grow up in a raging hurry, and from there, if the Steelers can get the kind of quarterback play that I'm envisioning Russell Wilson is still capable of giving, they can do enough on offense to complement a really, really good defense. Is that a fair assessment? Does that feel level-headed? Well, good, because it's all any of us have right now. Still 6 days away. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from John, who says, DK, I've been with you on the defense. I know this might sound crazy, but is it possible that Alex Highsmith could be part of a trade for a top wide receiver? It seemed like the Steelers were extremely careful with Alex over training camp. Just a thought that came into my head. Highsmith's been, I don't know if nursing's the right word. He's been shielded from, I think is a better term, a groin injury. Those linger like crazy if you've ever had one. But at the same time, he's very much been a participant in practices. What you haven't seen is him in preseason games. I wouldn't put a ton of stock in that. Half the defense hasn't been used in preseason games. Also, I'm not sure what that would have to do with a potential trade. If you're going to trade someone of Highsmith's caliber, not to mention his contract, you'd better believe there'll be all kinds of physicals involved. You're not about to pull the wool over anyone's eyes, if that's what you were suggesting. But the real question that would have to be answered within my answer to you is, how much do you value Highsmith's ability to stop the run and to seal the edge on his side? Because unless I'm misreading you here, John, you're looking at Highsmith as either a guy you don't want clogging a space in front of Nick Herbig or someone who's not worth the money. My guess is it's some mix of both, since that's a common sentiment. Highsmith's splash numbers were down in 2023 after signing the big contract. Herbig generates splash pretty much walking onto the field. But I can't make the point often enough that the Steelers coaches see Highsmith as being really, really good at stopping the run, at sealing the edge, to the extent that teams won't even run in that direction. And that alone is of immense value to the coaches who do the defensive planning. Think of it along the lines of Darrelle Revis in the island coverage. Darrelle just basically took the other team's best receiver and rendered him a non-thing. That allowed the defensive guys to scheme for the other 10, which was way easier. Now, I also can share with you, and unequivocally so, that they do not see Herbig in that same light. Doesn't mean he won't get there someday, but it does mean that Highsmith and his bigger frame and his history of shedding blocks to make those tackles, that's not nothing. It's just not. It's actually a really, really big deal. So this is my long-form way of answering that no, I do not believe that the Steelers would be trading Highsmith or really any significant roster player for the wide receiver. I really don't. I don't believe it was ever in play for Brandon Ayuk. I believe if you look at the way these trades have tended to materialize over the years, they're almost always draft picks. The team can't afford to sign somebody up against the cap, think he's pricing himself out, whatever the case. They're happy to take the draft picks and the cap space and live to fight another day. That's what I still believe would be the most likely scenario. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.